G'day, I'm Cahn. You might think my voice is familiar or you might recognize my face, but you may not know who I am. That's because for the last 10 years or so, I've been presenting videos for Adventure Kings or 4Drive Supacentre, doing all sorts of videos, how-to videos, installs, product features, 12-volt masterclass videos. And after millions of views, thousands of videos, it was time for me to move on and do something a little bit different. So it all started back in 2014 when I got a job at 4Drive Action Magazine. I was working in the construction industry at the time. I'd been to uni, wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with my life, but when this job popped up, it sounded absolutely amazing. I came for my job interview, I think it was on a Thursday, with Breno. And obviously I knew who Breno was. He'd been on some of those DVDs and in magazine articles. And I happened to mention that I was going to the Denny Ute Muster that coming weekend. And Breno replied that they were going as well. So when I was there, I should find them and say g'day. Had a couple of beers with them, and I've got to apologise to Tim, who had a cracking hangover one day. And there's me trying to be friendly, trying to talk to everyone and make a good impression. And I just wouldn't let him relax. So somehow I still managed to get the job. I was an editorial assistant. I basically wrote small articles in the magazine, helped out around the office, organised shoots for vehicles, organised locations, worked my way through the ranks, became a technical writer. I used to do the new vehicle reviews for different magazines. Those early days at 4Drive Action for me are some of my fondest memories. So all those trips that I did, 4Driving and camping, that taught me you don't need all the bells and whistles. You just need something that'll get you there and back again. And the people I worked with, some people that I really respect even to this day. And you know, some of them I worked with for a couple of years and have barely spoken to since. A good example that comes to mind is Danny. Took me under his wing a little bit when I started. And there's so many of them that I can't thank them all, but people like Breno, Matt, Tim, Glenn, Jocko, of course, who started about a month after me at 4Drive Action. Obviously, over the years, Shauno and Graham, who I did work with in a limited capacity because they were always off doing those trips. I worked my way up to eventually become the editor of Overlander Magazine in about 2015, 2016. And that was a really proud highlight of my career. Overlander Magazine got me into 4Driving and camping in a way because when I was a kid, I bought a stack of old magazines from the local library when they were doing a book sale. Funnily enough, I still have them. And this magazine here with the mid-wheelbase Land Cruiser on the front, it ended up leading me to buying 3 mid-wheelbase Land Cruisers in my life. My first one when I was about 18 or 19. And that's sort of where it started. And funnily enough, for journalism and publishing, that's where it ended. Because in around mid-2016, I moved over to 4Drive Supacentre in the marketing team. Now, back in those days, there was only about half a dozen of us, and I worked under a guy called Juzzy. What an epic mentor. Taught me so much about the brand voice, and we wanted to actually speak to 4Drives and campers. We didn't want to sound like a marketing agency. It was all in-house, and we had to do a bit of everything back then. I've got to thank everyone from that period of time, you know, who gave me a chance, because I'd never really done anything like this before. I was actually a pretty shy, nervous presenter or speaker back in the day. If anyone remembers me from high school, this is probably what they remember me for. But the bosses saw something in me, gave me a shot, and I suppose the rest is history. There's probably 3 people in particular that I can attribute a lot of my success to. And they're the guys on the other side of the camera. Obviously, I don't have one now because I'm trying to do this by myself, so we'll see how that turns out. But early on, I worked with Dave, and Dave taught me to care a lot less about how I looked on camera and whether or not I looked silly or how people would judge me. And that's one of the greatest life lessons I've ever learned, I suppose. He was just unapologetically Dave. Couldn't have done it without him. After that, Dean was the second videographer I worked in a close partnership with. And if Dave was the guy who taught me initially to not care so much, then Dean just solidified that. Absolutely chill dude. So casual, so happy to go with the flow, and was a gun photographer. And he taught me not to care less, but to relax a bit, which is exactly what I needed as I was coming up through the ranks. And he helped me evolve from, I considered myself to be an okay presenter to quite a good presenter. And then the third person, and probably the most critical, was Dylan. So Dill came in as a fairly junior videographer and editor, I think. Like me, quickly shot up through the ranks. And he took the quality of the content that we were making and took it to another level. He is incredible. So he is the guy that made our content look polished and compete with some of the best channels in the world in terms of views and messaging and branding. The 12-volt masterclass series that I presented, that I think combined has over 2 million views. Dylan shot it, Dylan edited it. He was always there, 50-50. Together, we produced something really special. So big shout out to Dill. And we grew from there, doing sort of DIY how-to videos, install videos, whether it was installing a DC-DC charger or building your own solar generator. And that's the sort of stuff I love doing, a lot of hands-on, long-form, in-depth technical content where I was able to really offer something to the audience and help them out. So one thing I do want to address is this idea that I'm only saying good things about a brand because I work for them. And that's not the case. I wrote my own scripts, did my own research, presented my own videos. I did videos that I think helped people, gave them the information they needed to make the right decision. And even now, even after I've walked away and I'm no longer getting a paycheck, I still do recommend King's Gear. If you see me out and about, buy me a coffee or a beer, depending on the time of day and the location, and I will happily tell you a bunch of recommendations for your setup. In fact, drop a comment and I'll do the same. So it's nothing to do with the products, it's nothing to do with the brand. I guess it just felt like it was time to move on. So the last couple of years have been tough for me. I think it's the rise of social media and these short form videos that I just didn't get it. Like, I understand it. I could sit there and scroll through reels for 20 minutes and lose track of time as well. But to make that content just wasn't fulfilling for me. And I know that's the way the world's going. So I'm probably wrong. It's a funny hill to die on, but I still want to do long form, in-depth technical content. And this is one way for me to be able to do that. So if I still recommend the gear and like what they're doing, why am I leaving? Well, there's three main reasons. Number one, my wife and I have been saving up for almost the last decade to buy a property, and we managed to get a couple acres, a few roads from the highway, as they say. But commuting to Sydney is not really viable anymore because it's way out. And we were ready to sort of move, start a new chapter. So that's a big reason. My role probably couldn't have continued in the same capacity that it was anyway. And this gives me an opportunity for a fresh start. And at the moment, I'm shooting this in my dad's workshop because I'm in the process of moving everything and my new shed isn't finished. Dad's got the mill and the lathe, so you might even see more of me here coming back and doing some more in-depth DIY projects and finally finishing off my Land Cruiser. Number two, as I sort of alluded to earlier, I really want to do long-form technical deep dive videos, and that's just not the way marketing is going. It's not to say I can't do it because I was doing it, but it just wasn't fulfilling for me. And then number three, another big one is burnout. I think without realizing it, I'd been putting a lot of myself and my time into this role, and I probably should have recognized it earlier that I needed to probably slow down and step back. Instead, I just kept going full throttle. And I suppose it bit me a little bit in the end. I was wasting my weekends because all I wanted to do was decompress. So now I've got to channel that energy into something new, and here we are. I'm going to give this a red hot crack. I'm going to give my own channel a go and see where it takes me. And starting a new channel is going to give me that opportunity to talk about not just four-wheel driving and camping and 12-volt systems, which I still want to talk about because it's such a passion of mine, but also I want to get into some of my old cars and motorbikes and go on a couple of trips with those as well. And you know, if you've got any suggestions, please throw a comment down below and I'll do my best. So this is Turnaway, which I think is a funny pun, but also I'm Cahn Turner, and this is the Turnaway.